Welcome back to another episode of Two Who's Review. I'm Alex,
I'm Fitz.
I'm Sam.
and today we are checking out the third Doctor story, Death to the Daleks. This is, for only being 11 years after the first Dalek story, it is the last Dalek story of the classic era not to feature Davros.
Yep. And the third last Terry Nation story.
Yeah.
Wild
that. It seems so early for the Daleks to have their last encounter where Davros wasn't the key focus by the end.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So, before we get into it proper, I just want to give a brief little backstory of how I was introduced to this story, because it's sort of interesting. So I watched this story on the ABC when they were doing reruns decades ago. And me and my family sat down to watch it, but we turned it on late. We had missed the opening titles. So I did not know that Daleks were in this story.
Wow.
And the interesting thing is, if you watch the first episode until the end, you wouldn't know they were in this story either. So you can imagine the levels of, frankly, autistic, heart-stopping excitement I felt when I saw the Daleks come trundling out of the hatch to the Doctor and the other companions. It was great. It was so exciting. And then it got even more interesting because the cliffhanger leads into a really quite a novel concept. What is a Dalek without a gun? Basically, what could we do if we took that away from them? And that got me even more excited. So that's my introduction to it, basically. And I will say that one of the problems, I mean, it's not terrible, but I guess one of the issues I have with this story is they don't do enough for that concept. Like, that the issue of the Daleks not having guns gets solved halfway through the second episode. I wanted to see more manipulations, or hell, I wouldn't even mind seeing more Daleks get the shit beaten out of them. That might have been kind of fun, but it just... Anyway, that's an issue.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I looked away from the screen just at the moment when they fixed their weapons. So then when I saw them like fire on the Exelon, I was like, wait, what happened? And
Wait a minute. You missed the target practice?
No, I rewound to it.
Okay, I'm gonna say, because if you fucking missed that scene cover, I was gonna be so annoyed. Because it's one of the best Dalek scenes of the whole show.
Well, they just have a little mini TARDIS prop.
They have a little mini TARDIS, a little toy TARDIS on a little pedestal. They're like, just firing the shit out of that thing. It's fucking great. Oh, I love that bit so much.
Yeah. That's really interesting, because like there is the old sort of like running gag that almost every Dalek episode plays the Daleks' involvement as a big twist reveal, despite having the word Dalek in the
in the title, yeah.
So for that twist reveal to actually hit because you missed the title,
it is very funny. Because it's the same with other villains, right? I mean, the Cybermen
it's fairly consistent across the board.
It's why Earthshock works as well as it does for a story, because in terms of like story beats, it's kind of similar to this, because we don't know it's the Cybermen doing it until the end of part 1, but there it actually works because they're not in the fucking title. So,
well, I mean, give it a few weeks, we're gonna get hands down the best one in Stolen Earth.
Yeah, true. That's very true.
Here we go. I do agree with you, actually. I would have liked to have seen more of like an uneasy alliance between the Daleks and the people, where it's like we know we can't trust them, and we're just like nervously waiting for that moment when they can turn on us again, and trying to gain an upper hand before that. I think I would have liked to have seen that dynamic play out a little bit more. And especially because like this episode introduces the concept of like the fact that they control their mech suits via telepathy, specifically so that we don't have to ask the question of why are they still able to control their exoskeletons, even though there's a big EMP field up on the planet. So for them to just like find a way around it very quickly into episode 2 does feel a little bit. Oh, okay, so now we're back into a pretty standard Dalek story.
I mean, how interesting would it have been if they? Sorry, go ahead. Pardon me.
But I was going to say, like, for standard Dalek stories, there's still a decent amount of variety in this. Where I'm like, this still feels like it has merit, given what we got.
Yes,
I think I still would have preferred to see the other version of this script, though.
Yeah.
And like, as much as it would have been interesting to see them have to bide their time for a little bit longer, I do think it's fairly consistent for what we know of Daleks that they are able to come up with a new gun very quickly.
Yeah. That wouldn't have become, one of the most as the Doctor says, one of the most powerful forces in the universe if they couldn't. It is interesting. We spent quite a lot of time in that temple, and it's not a bad thing because it is quite entertaining. But it feels maybe because Sarah's not there and she's sort of off doing her own thing. But disconnected is the word I want to use. Maybe that's not the right one, but that's kind of the vibes I'm getting. But for what we get of the temple section, it is still pretty entertaining. That being said, like it's interesting to see the Doctor and Bilal, I think that's his name. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Go through it, and then we see the Daleks do the same thing and see how they kind of fuck up. But it would be more interesting to see the Daleks really be forced to solve the problem, given that their minds are more aren't as, I guess, imaginative, or they're more one track than the Doctors could ever be. There's something it's a bit of missing potential.
I completely thought we were going to get a moment where the Daleks entered the room with the light that makes you hate your friend, and for both of them to succumb to it, because that's how fascist minds tend to work.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were able to like pass even that room off screen because they knew that they couldn't easily work out a way where a Dalek would talk their Dalek friend down from shooting them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe maybe their suits stop the technology from penetrating their Dalek brains, but there's certainly no indication of that. So it's weird that's how it goes. But then, like, you need the Daleks, those ones specifically, still, so they can get the climax to happen. It's sort of similar, I think, to the Sontaran two-parter we just looked at, where I don't know. I don't know if the plot in this story is like super overstuffed, but there's quite a lot of disparate things happening in it, and it's difficult to sort of tie them all up. I think it's that classic example of a classic Doctor Who story being, the sum being greater than the whole. I think it's the general impression I got.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, the fact that realistically the big bad of this episode is a living city seems kind of like, I don't know why it seems so pedestrian by this show's standards. Right, it's the point. Yeah, they built a city, and the city itself became sentient and is like, yeah, I'm totally willing to accept that at this point. Well, it's 1974. Do what you want.
Well, here's actually another question, and I've got a feeling I know why on a production sort of level this had to happen, but think of this. Could this story have worked without the Daleks? Like, in some form of it?
It was originally
it wouldn't be the same, but...
Well, it was originally written without them, and it was just going to be about Exelon, but I'm reading that they wanted to add the Daleks
starting to make a lot of sense.
They wanted to cash in on their popularity.
Same answer I gave last time. Yes, but it's more interesting for having them here.
That's true, yeah. I'd wondered whether, like, on the production side of things, I don't know if it's there in the notes, Cuff, but I wondered whether with Terry Nation, because I know he used to be very possessive over the rights to the Daleks, maybe he had, like, a contractual obligation to write one Dalek story every so often so he could have more creative control over the property. I don't know, but That's kind of what I thought as to why
It
they
doesn't-
were.
It doesn't look like that's
Okay.
who it was.
Speaking
But
of
yeah.
Terry Nation and who's writing,
Yeah.
do you think he knew when he wrote this episode that the perineum is the technical term for your gooch?
Oh, it.
Do you think he knew that when he wrote this?
I can't believe I didn't realize that, because maybe it's the way they were pronouncing it.
Did
But
he know
yeah.
that he was writing a story about humans and Daleks fighting over the resource of skin between genitals and anus that is necessary to stop a terrible, terrible disease?
I don't know.
I'm gonna go with a no.
I don't
Would
think there's a,
someone dig him up and ask?
I was about to say I don't think there's a single
'Cause I
person
need
alive on this
answers.
planet. I don't think there's a single person alive on this planet who can answer that question.
Yeah. God, imagine if someone just like finds buried underneath Terry Nation's where his house used to be, and it's just a box, and there's a small note written to it. It's like they found the weird genital part. That's what they were looking for in the story, and they found it. Anyway, that is weird. That is a little bit weird.
For a lot of the first part of this story, I was I heard that they landed on Exelon, and I was like, where do I know that name from? Why does that sound familiar to me? And I had to really dig deep and realize, hang on, who do I remember saying Exelon? Who said Exelon? Who said Exelon? Oh, Jenna Coleman said Exelon. Why did she say Exelon? Oh, it's because some of the survivors from this conflict would end up being imprisoned in the intensive care ward of the Asylum of the Daleks.
I guess
That
that makes
adds
sense.
so much flavor to this story, knowing that it's directly tied to one of the worst Dalek stories ever written.
Ever made.
Yeah, that's kind of
Fuck.
interesting.
Not really, because well, I mean, we'll get to it when we do Asylum of the Daleks in 3 years. But like, all
it
of the
doesn't
Daleks
make either of these stories better, but I don't think it makes either of them worse.
It does, because in Asylum, all of the Daleks that we see in intensive care are models from the revival era with the bulkier midsections. They're explicitly not classic era Daleks. They had one job, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, but that's true of that whole story, isn't it, Cuff? Like that,
Yes.
One job of that whole story is to be a good story, and it doesn't do that.
Well, I mean, the whole point of it was intended to be a big homage to the 50-year history between the Doctor and the Daleks, and like a big like celebration of it. And it's actively not that.
I mean, look,
it's actively not that, because it goes out of its way to rewrite all of that history by the end.
Oh dear.
Look, what you're saying is not wrong or incorrect. But when you say it, the first sentence that appeared in my mind was, there are people dying in real life. And this is what we're worried about? Whether or not the Daleks in the Asylum were realistically classic styled or not?
This is a Doctor Who discussion podcast.
I'm just saying that's the sentence that materialized in my brain when we were like, when you were like, and here's another reason to hate Asylum of the Daleks. So I'm like, what are we doing, man?
I can't wait till when we get to that story. That's I'm very excited for when we get to that story. I might regret saying that.
You're not wrong in what you're saying.
No, you're right. You're right. There is something about thinking about Asylum of the Daleks that calls to mind the futility of human endeavor. I do agree with you on that.
Oh man.
But back to Death to the Daleks.
Hey, do you reckon Asylum of the Daleks should have been called Death to the Daleks because of how bad it was? I'm gonna stop there.
This is one of those stories that lives in that lovely little bubble where Sarah Jane Smith is a good character. She does a lot of good stuff in this story. She gets stuff done.
And even when she gets sort of sent away by the Doctor, one,
It's
she
for a
pushes
purpose.
back on. Yeah, well, she pushes back against it, like she's saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, you just want me out of the way." But then the Doctor says, "No, this is really important, and I want you to do it." And she not only does that, but then she comes up with the that great idea of replacing the perineum with the sand in the bags, which
Mm.
that kind of gets scuppered a little bit by how the story exactly ends, but it's still really good stuff that she's doing. Also, she gets trapped in the TARDIS with one of the Exelons. Doesn't just
She
scream
beats
or
that
cower in the corner.
motherfucker with a
Yeah,
crank.
yeah. She doesn't run away in terror. She doesn't scream and cower in the corner. She beats the shit out of that thing twice. She incapacitates it. It gets up and she beats it again, and then and leaves. And goes out looking for the Doctor. How great is that? And it's such a shame. And
Yeah.
I know we've brought this up before. Compare this Sarah Jane to Fourth Doctor Sarah Jane. Like it's night and day really, and it's so annoying. Because yeah, she's a really great character.
And it's another really good Third Doctor showing as well. Like he gets to do a lot of varied stuff, like solve some puzzles, knock some motherfuckers unconscious.
Yeah.
Like his like, I love his characterization of the relationship he has with the Daleks by this point, where he's very eager to be like, well, how about a truce then? But then he also is the first to say, now we absolutely cannot trust this truce. But like, what else can we do in this moment? Don't trust the fucking Daleks.
Yeah.
I was really fond of his relationship with Bilal. I really liked.
Yeah, me too.
It was very. It's very sweet, but it feels. I don't know. I think if that was another human character dealing with Bilal, there'd be some weird, I don't know, condescending elements, like, oh, here's this strange alien little dude, whatever. But the Doctor obviously cares about him, but treats him really like an equal, I guess. And I don't know, I find that very refreshing, because it could have gone the other way, I think.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, the Third Doctor kind of lives in this, like, again, just like the bubble that Sarah Jane Smith sits in while she's with the Third Doctor. The Third Doctor is like, but you've got the First Doctor, who tended to be like a bit grouchy with the people around him, and then you got the Fourth Doctor, who would occasionally like snap at his companions and like call Leela a savage. Like, not often, but it happened every now and then.
Oh,
and then of course,
well, and look at how he acts in
well.
Look at how the Tom Baker acts in the Pyramids of Mars. He's quite uncomfortable and standoffish. But anyway, yeah, as you're saying, Cuff,
and then you also got the Sixth Doctor's general arrogance. Like, the Third Doctor has his moments of like snipping back at his companions, but it's normally played as like a playful jab, and he's able to take it on the chin just as well as he gives it out. It comes up a lot more like friendly with the Third Doctor than it does with many of the others.
Look, there definitely are problems, I guess, ethically with John Pertwee's characterization of the Doctor that are indicative of the times. There are a lot of moments, especially with Joe, where he's quite sexist, and he's not quite like that with Sarah. And I think I'm positive he's not like that with Liz, because she's another scientist. But there's still just those little moments where he will be kind of condescending. I think there's even a bit in the Sea Devils where he basically just says to, I think he says to Joe, just go make a cup of tea or something like that. But yes, I agree, Cuff. For the most part, it's played off as kind of playful. It's not, and like even when it is humorous, like it's not too unpleasant. I'm reminded of that really funny moment where in the Three Doctors where the Brigadier's like, oh, well, is there anything I can do, Doctor? And the Doctor's like, yes, hand me that silicon rod, will you? And he takes it and stirs his tea with it. It's just, fun little moments like that. But he's got that deeper sense of compassion. And even though I can't think of many explicit examples, you get the impression that he's able to reflect on some of his behavior, which is kind of great, really. It makes him quite an endearing Doctor.
Totally.
Yeah.
But yes, it's an interesting the impetus of the story is a massive space plague that goes unnamed and will never be referenced again. as is the nature of the show. But I like the this whole like we got to get the perineum from this this planet because it's a decent cure. It's just an interesting like what's the word? Like it's like a oh God, inciting incident to kick the story off, and it gives the human characters something like really important to deal with as they stand against the Daleks. And I like how it's
thematically
really,
heavy too.
It is. But I also like this, not like they don't feel the need to constantly bring it up, but it is still this like running little thing in the back of your mind throughout the entire story where it's like these are the stakes. It's not just that these people might die, it's that there's like larger implications.
Millions and millions of people.
Exactly, yeah. I like that as like an extra little moment of stakes to give this story, because I don't think it's because normally with the Daleks, all you have to give them is they can kill the people that you see on screen. But now there's this extra thing of like, oh, but they're also plotting to take the perineum for themselves to cause the deaths of millions of others on a like biblical scale. This plague that they're gonna let run across the cosmos.
That actually, yeah. So maybe you two can correct me if I'm wrong, but I wondered how clear the Daleks' plan was, because you do get most of it by the end, like they're going to basically hold the universe for ransom, but I'd wondered why they sort of ventured onto the, I don't know, planet themselves. I don't know, maybe that's enough of a justification, though. That might just be me.
I mean, it's straightforward enough, I guess. I do. Part of me thinks it kind of would have been more interesting if they actually were also affected by the plague, and they were just like, no, all for us, none for anyone else. But them just being like, nah, if we just get rid of it, then people will die for us, and we won't even have to go kill them. Also works.
Yeah, that's true.
At the same time, though, if they're like, hey, this planet is like got the only cure for this plague, we should just blow it up from orbit. Because, like,
yeah, that's true.
Surely they have that ability.
Yeah.
I guess is that did they have to disable the planetary like EMP thing in order to do that?
Yeah, but why would they go to like? Couldn't they have like a big Dalek ship, like in the stratosphere, with a big Dalek gun pointed at the planet, like a Death Star sort of a thing? I mean, I don't know. Granted, whether Dalek technology had been established as having that kind of power at that point.
But if you drop a nuke, there's not much that an EMP is going to do about that.
I mean, I guess the larger implications are that they don't really have technology ever, because when even in the revival era, they still decide to send out individual units. You know, they never just bomb planets from orbit. They send out the Dalek drones and kill individuals that way.
I guess it's just part of the bizarre Dalek psyche, which leads me on to, which perfectly leads me on to another element with the Daleks in this story. How can I put this? God, they're a bunch of nutter butters. You've got the bit where the Dalek basically commits seppuku, so to speak, when he realizes that he's failed his mission and self-destructs because one prisoner escaped. That happens, apparently.
Yeah. Makes you wonder why more Daleks don't do that.
Yeah, because it happens at the end of Dalek, but that's a bit of a different thing.
It also happens at the end of this episode. The two Daleks that went to the temple failed to, kill the antibodies or the Doctor. They don't.
Oh, and also end of Remembrance of the Daleks as well.
Yeah.
But again, they're a bit different. It's not just one prisoner has escaped. I have failed, time to die. They were a bit more significant. It's just...
Any Dalek that ever failed to kill the Doctor.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
If Daleks killed themselves every time the Doctor got away, then there wouldn't be Daleks anymore.
Or even
time.
Well, even like because there was specifically one specific woman prisoner, but even then, like, there's no way that she's the first to escape the clutches of the Daleks. So you'd have a lot more of the Daleks destroying themselves, presumably.
And what I love about that as well is it was so unnecessary. If all the Daleks are going to be bombed at the end anyway, why did this one have to kill itself on its own? It could have just gone back to the ship.
Maybe to help the characters escape, but then again, there could have been other means to do that. I don't know. It's just it's bizarre, I guess. Quite a bizarre moment. Do you want to move on to the human characters, or have you folks have got other?
I was gonna say that I mean, I largely find, apart from, I think his name is the main guy who makes the sacrifice play at the end.
Oh, Galloway, yeah.
Galloway, yeah. I find the rest not particularly interesting to think about.
I
don't. They've got their
Well-
internal like politics and the way they treat each other, but with the rest of them, they don't have enough time to interact with the Doctor.
Yeah.
Or
Like
even
the next most interesting one
Yeah.
dies first.
exactly, yeah.
yeah.
Like, I don't think they spend enough time with our main cast for us to really get to know who they are individually. And all we're left with is the crew dynamic, which, while somewhat interesting, I mean, we've seen this kind of thing before. That said, the exception is Galloway, and I love how chilling his line of, "Sorry, I didn't quite understand what you were saying there."
Yeah.
Like, it's such a fucking
Well,
dick thing to say to someone on their deathbed.
Here's the thing, right? I understand what you mean. Because there's not a lot of depth to those other characters. There's no big story arcs and things like that, like there is with Galloway. But I'm really glad that they're there, if only because we had that scene where they confront Galloway on his plan, to basically help the Exelons wipe out the other tribe. And his points are, oh no, but it's just a few lives. To help millions. It's
They're primitive as well.
a version of the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the one. But they also point out, but it's based on pointless bloodshed. Like what the fuck is wrong with you? And that's interesting to me. That deepens his fascist tendencies, and also helps with the whole collaborator thing. Because similarly with Radigan in the Sontaran episodes, it shows that he, is maybe not so different from a Dalek. And there's just something.
I don't
There's just
know. I don't think
interesting.
Spock would have used that to justify a genocide.
Oh yeah, no. I should have. No, I should have.
I'm not saying you're saying that. Yeah.
I should have clarified more of a perversion of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. So, but that fascist tendency in him, it's just interesting. Like, it gives him a bit of depth, and the fact that it gets resolved in him, resisting those urges and destroying, sort of resisting those urges and destroying the Daleks. In the end, it just, the whole thing adds to his characterization, and I'm glad that those other crew members are there, even if they are only a way to sort of morally contrast with Galloway. That being said, though, yes, they're not terribly developed, and even in terms of the moral implications, it probably would have been better if the Doctor interacted with them a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Like I said, like it's at the point where I'm like, they have names, I don't remember them. Like they're far from the most compelling side characters that I've ever seen even in classic Doctor Who. I mean, Galloway. Like I said, he's interesting to some degree. I was thinking halfway through the episode that I was like, it's interesting that he deliberately perverts and like doesn't communicate the dying message of his commander so that he can be in charge, only to then sort of be working for the Daleks, so he still doesn't get what he wants. I do find that as a concept kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Again, it's not really the focus, and I thought it was going to end up being that way, where the rest of his crew were going to approach him and be like, you're still not in command, you're still taking order from someone else. It's just this time it's a pure evil instead of a person. Can you not see this? Again, it's never brought up. It's either unintentional or it's there left unsaid for you to pick up on yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when they confront him, I don't know if it's like literally explicitly said, but there's a strong implication. I think that's what's going on with Galloway, that he's, well, I mean, the captain even sort of, the commander challenges him and says, you're not doing this for a greater good, you're doing this for your own personal glory, and then that's sort of, it's implied that sort of characterization is deepened when he's confronted with his fellow crew members, I think.
I don't really have much more to say about the human characters personally. I think.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I think that going back to the living city of Exelon, which I'm going to call it.
Sure.
A huge focus of the last third of the story is the Indiana Jones, the series of riddles and tests, and puzzles that it gives the intruders, and they put a big emphasis on. So why is the city doing this? What does it need What does it need brilliant minds for?
Incidentally, new winner for the best cliffhanger.
Oh, I was going to say, the best cliffhanger in all of Doctor Who
was in Planet of Giants with giant cat face.
Yeah,
but now we have stop. Geometric pattern on the floor.
Well, you'll be excited to hear that wasn't intended to be the cliffhanger.
Good.
Goodness gracious.
That's the best thing you could have said about it.
What was intended to be the cliffhanger?
They were just like, with this is we've hit 30 minutes. Show the floor.
Wait, stop.
So here's the note. The cliffhanger to part 3, the Doctor and Bilal walking towards a red and white geometric patterned area on the floor, only for the Doctor to say, "Stop, don't move," was not originally going to be the cliffhanger. The original cliffhanger was going to be at the scene where the Doctor is trying to deduce the answer to the logic concerning symbols when 2 Daleks appear. Specifically, the cliffhanger would have hinged on the zoom towards the Daleks gun. This was changed, however, for timing reasons. So episode 3 was going to end before they ever enter the city.
Yeah.
That is severely mistimed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. Good God.
And thank God they didn't.
Yeah,
yeah, because that was an iconic moment.
But going back to that, the whole they do say a couple times in episode 4, why is the city doing this? And you originally think it's because, well, there's actually an Exelon inside the city observing their behavior, and that he's the one masterminding all this, and there's got some larger machinations in store. But it turns out that was just a pile of dust, and the computer brain just decides to kill them anyway. So there's no real reason to have any logic tests at all. If it was a thing where it was you get inside and the brain is able to communicate, oh, thank God you're here, I'm, I've been misprogrammed. This wasn't what my, I was programmed badly. I don't want to be this ruthless, but I unfortunately am. Can you help me? That would be one thing. But the fact that we just don't get an answer to that mystery, and as soon as we get to the computer brain, it's like, well, actually, I don't need smart people. I'm gonna kill you, which I could have done.
I mean, there's a similar thing in the Pyramids of Mars in episode 4, where the Doctor and Sarah and Scarman are all going through the Pyramids of Mars, having to solve these little puzzles. But there's at least a bit more urgency there, because there is the god of death in that pyramid, and it just gives a sense of urgency to that scenario that I think I agree. I think it's kind of missing here. It's like scary temple, and it's scary because it's a temple that's scary. I mean, I know I might be being a bit reductionist there, but that's sort of what it feels like. I kind of like the fact that the twist is that there is no one actually controlling it, but that doesn't really go anywhere, really, does it?
Yeah.
And in the end, it does feel like I'm upset about that. I wanted there to be some kind of big, maybe not even necessarily a plan, but a reason for the city to do that, because otherwise it does kind of lead to the scene where it's well, why did the city have to be alive at all? Why did it have to be alive? Why couldn't it have just been a, like why did they decide to do that if they weren't going to do anything with the concept?
Well, that's the thing. Like, as you mentioned, this wasn't meant to be a Dalek story, and there is a lot of quite a bit of emphasis placed on the Exelons, and their tribe and them having these sort of blood sacrifices. But that gets sort of swept aside fairly quickly because the Daleks come on the scene, enslave everybody, and then the Exelons, like, they're there as an enemy force, but they're not as potent as they were earlier on. So you wonder whether the temple and the Exelon's reverence for it and the forces behind it were meant to be a much bigger part of the plot, but they had to get sideswept because some BBC producers said, "Fuck you, Terry Nation, you're going to give us a new Dalek story."
I do quite like that we have different Exelon factions.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not just, all Exelons are the same and they worship this city. No, they feel like a more real alien society with people that are allowed to think and feel for things on their own accord.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I want to mention this: the tendrils, especially when it's in the lake.
Fucking love the roots so much.
Oh yeah, that was
so
great.
Good.
Yeah. I love the sound effects.
So well, but it's also incredibly well actualized. Like, especially the scene in the lake. I'm like, holy shit, they did this in 1974.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, it
remind me of Gypsy from Mystery Science Theater.
But I think because it does have that sort of puppeteering, BBC budget, almost like a kaiju monster sort of thing done with it, but because it's integrated into the world building in the way that it is, it does really work, and it makes it really quite exciting. And when you combine that with the fact that it's basically setting things, including the Daleks, on fire, with the great sound design, which I love, it's really quite exciting.
Well, it bizarrely did the opposite of what is normally the case with low budget effects, where it's like, okay, if you want them to look less fake, keep them obscured as much as possible. Don't light them, don't shine too bright a light on it, because then people can see how fake it is. Like, in the tunnel, it looks like interesting, but it looks a bit more like cobbled together to me. When it's this massive thing flopping about in the water, I'm in awe of it.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff, especially for the era. Also, another special effect I like was when the city was crumbling. Now, I don't know exactly how they did that. Whether they maybe, I don't know, built it out
of... My guess is it was made out of something like styrofoam, and they had some sort of...
And just melted it.
That would just melt it, yeah.
I thought it might have been like I don't know, built out of the same stuff that Alka-Seltzer is made of, and maybe they poured water onto it. But yes, I think, actually, Sam, your point is probably more accurate.
Some combination of they poured a liquid on it that melts whatever material it was made.
Or applied something. I guess if it was heat, it would make sense, because that's not gonna show up on screen.
Yeah, I don't think it would be heat, because I don't think it would melt that way if it was heat.
There was a similar effect actually in the Sea Devils that Cuff and I brought up, and given that story came out in 1972, it looked amazingly realistic. But it's the same sort of thing where it's a piece of metal or presumably a hardened surface is just melting and disintegrating before your eyes, which again, early to mid 70s, pretty impressive. Also, how fun was it just seeing Daleks get the shit blown out of them with
that's always
explosions?
Good fun.
Yeah, it's always great fun.
Nothing like watching a supreme being encounter something that is supreme to it. Like, it's shades of the incredible jumping man in the Five Doctors.
Oh yeah, the fucking Raston.
Oh yeah, the
warrior.
Raston robot. Yeah.
Yeah.
When are they gonna be
Oh.
brought back?
Whenever we go to Raston
Not soon
again,
enough.
Come on, RTD. That's what the fans really want.
That's actually going to be how the 16th Doctor regenerates in the
It
first
gets
episode.
shot
we
by a
meet her
Raston
in.
robot.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a guy in a spandex suit shows up at the end of every episode and like looks at the camera and just does like a finger on the mouth. Shh.
Oh no! It'll probably just do like a couple of like Power Ranger poses just in front of the camera, and then and then in the end, it just shows up and breaks the TARDIS door down by shooting a spear through it.
It is so cute that you guys think that the 16th Doctor is going to last longer than a couple of episodes.
Yeah,
I'm not even
true.
convinced that it is the Doctor.
That's true.
It's the Valyard come back from the dead. Which, to be fair, at this point, I could believe that.
Because
more...
the Valyard is a word that people who know about Doctor Who will recognize. I don't have any good ideas for what to do with that character. But maybe I will think of some by the time I get to the ending. Uh-oh. I did not. Oh well.
But there was a scene where Billy Piper, went through a teleporter or something, so she'll be back as the Valyard. That'll be exciting. Anyway, back to this story.
I assume because we're going off on this tangent, we're pretty much done talking about Death to the Daleks, right?
I like the, I guess the tension earlier on where they're kidnapped and there's this weird sacrifice scene, like the blood sacrifice. That's kind of creepy. I also don't mind the opening. Like it's interesting and intriguing a little bit. It's got a decent amount of mystery. Actually, that reminded me of
seeing like the lights going out in the TARDIS is always
it's
always a fun setup for a story.
And the bit where the Doctor's like, hear that, and Sarah's like, no, and he's like, exactly. There's no sound, which is kind of great. There are two little
it's the fucking Red Dwarf bit.
Yeah.
No one can hear anything. And do you know why we can't hear anything?
Because
there are no sounds
to hear. But there are a couple of little moments with the plot that I had small issue with. They didn't ruin it, but they just stuck out to me. The first one was when the Doctor opens the TARDIS to go and explore. Would that not have been a considerable risk? The Doctor doesn't know where they are. They haven't checked the atmosphere. They could easily have just been on a planet with no atmosphere or with a poisonous atmosphere, and they both could have just died. And you wonder, would the Doctor have been more cautious than that? With that said, he wouldn't have had much of a choice otherwise, because they're literally just stuck in the TARDIS forever. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But also, it is absolutely within the character of the Doctor to have their curiosity get the better of them in what could be a dangerous situation. Like we saw that last year in the podcast with Utopia. They arrive at the end of the universe, and David Tennant's like, "Oh, the Time Lord's never came this far. We really, really, really should leave." And then grins from ear to ear and runs out the door straight away.
Yeah. And also, to varying degrees, basically every fucking episode starts with, wouldn't it be really dangerous to go outside right now? And then they do anyway.
But hey, look, it's gone.
That's how the show happens.
When this story came out, gone were the days
of... there's no episode.
Look, when this story came out, gone were the days when William Hartnell deliberately fucked around with the with the radioactive gauge to trick the TARDIS crew into exploring Skaro. You know, we're past those days. But yes, no, I agree. It made me think it made me think twice at the time. But like, if it was really a problem, I would have noticed more by now. The other small thing, and again, maybe a tiny issue, but so the crew that has come down to get the perineum. God, I'm saying it that way now.
Perineum. Say perineum. Yeah. It makes it so much easier
thank
for
you.
everyone.
Perineum, thank you.
I love that in this moment, myself and Sam are the angel and the devil on your shoulders, Fitz.
Let the perineum into your heart. Let it consume you.
Well, here's
Now
the thing.
come on, Fitz. You know this isn't what Terry Nation would have wanted. Just say perineum.
Well, here's the thing. The issue I
You
had
don't
is
know that for sure. He's dead. No one can ask him.
they establish
Maybe this was his intention all along.
the crew establishes that they're there with like a mining equipment, a mining base to mine the perineum. So
Damn it.
they
Evil
So-
wins.
so they're there to get it, right? They're there to mine it. Well, if that's the case, would just escaping with it be enough? Like, don't they have to mine it before they leave? There's no scene where we see them mining it, or if they, or the other way I thought about it was, if the story ends with them just taking it, the perineum with them to the other planets, why did they have to mine it in the first place? And for that matter, why did they have to come down on, like, and stay on the surface of the planet? Like, I get that the energy thing is there and that's stopping them leaving, but
I don't really understand this criticism. My read of it is just they just need heaps of it because there are millions of people that are sick. Like, I
so
don't.
why mine it and refine
feel
it
that,
then?
like,
Just get the
it's pretty
perineum
clear that
and
this thing is like it's an abundant resource on the planet. I don't think this is the kind of thing where it's like you get the perineum rock and then you have to extract the perineum itself. It's like sand on there. Like, we see the Exelons
I
sieving
guess,
it.
yeah.
Like,
No, that's true. I guess because they specifically said, like, they said a mining area, not a refinery one. I suppose.
exactly. Like, they don't.
Um,
And also, like, I would assume, like, it's rare that a mining crew are also the ones that do all of the, like, the scientific, like, refining and polishing and stuff.
Yeah, I
That's
guess so.
normally handled elsewhere.
Yeah.
because
Like the blue collar
true.
coal miners aren't the same people that are turning it into energy.
I mean, and I guess, like, because they want to get to it, right? But the mining, you assume, is okay. Well, they're going to go underground, but they go underground because they get kidnapped, and
Yeah.
okay, I guess that makes sense. All right, fair enough. I actually don't think there's much else to say, if I'm honest.
No, not really. We covered pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, the fun of this story is watching Daleks be a little bit silly.
Yeah.
For the most part, anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not like the other stuff is bad. It's just,
No.
It's fun
A little bit messy.
to a point. I don't think it's like I think there are elements of pretty much every part of this that we would have liked to have seen expanded upon. You know, the human people, the city, the excellence. To some degree, I think we would have liked to have seen more devoted to them.
Yeah.
But
more
then,
of the Daleks, even, but
yeah, I mean,
or
it does.
alternatively, less of all of those things and more of the tendrils.
That's
more of the roots.
Death to the Tendrils is the new name
yeah.
for this episode.
But yeah, I think overall, like, there wasn't any part of it where I felt frustrated or particularly bored. There was enough happening in it that I found it kind of entertaining, and even the more serious stuff, like the confrontation of Galloway's fascist tendencies, I really admired that, and I found it quite compelling. So, yeah, not great, not terrible, but pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give it a 7.
I'm gonna give it a 6.
I'm also giving it a 7.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, next time on the show, we will be reviewing The Doctor's Daughter. The episode.
You sure you don't mean The Doctor's Wife?
No, that's the Neil Gaiman episode.
That's a joke, Cuff.
I'm aware. I'm responding to the joke. But until then...
She is the Doctor's daughter, though.
She is the Doctor's daughter.
Yeah, technically, yes.
It's not false.
Yeah, true.
And childhood friend of the Doctor's daughter.
But until then, I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
I'm Sam.
And perineum.